Hello and welcome to Elm Park Royals, sponsored by Blue Collar Street Food. Today we are going to be discussing the Coventry City away match, and I have been joined by Matt Joy. Matt, how
Evening,
you doing?
Max. Very well, thank you, mate. How are you?
I am not too bad, not too bad. Top of the league, 7 points clear. Like it's could
Nice.
life really be better any better as a Reading fan right now?
Precisely. No, it's been a long time coming. It feels like this mood amongst Reading fans, but it's very welcome indeed.
Yeah, social media's been going crazy for the past 24 hours with
Mm.
all sorts of reaction to last night's game. Obviously, 4-2 victory up at Blackburn, and the I guess the reaction afterwards was very positive from all sides.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I think that yesterday's game was perhaps one that you were looking at, given Blackburn's free scoring nature, Reading grinding out a few results sort of in recent weeks. You thought this may be potentially a game where it comes unstuck a little bit, but full credit to Reading, they were absolutely fantastic for long periods, and I think it was probably for me the most impressive display of the season so far. And yeah, it's just the train keeps on rolling on, and long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. Long may it continue for sure. I agree. It probably was the most impressive Reading performance of the season so far. Obviously, we've beaten Watford and we've beaten Cardiff, but I think that was the one where people were a little bit concerned. And the game yesterday obviously got off to a very quick start with
Mm.
those two goals in the first 2.5 minutes and Reading scoring three in the first 18 minutes after the Rotherham and Wycombe games being slow burners. I think that's probably putting it kindly. It was
Mm.
good to see Reading come out on the front foot, and Paunovic kind of alluded to that after the game.
Yeah. He said that perhaps the aim for the side was to take the game onto to take the game to Blackburn in the early stages, and I think that if there has been a criticism of Reading in recent weeks, which have been few and far between, the last two home games perhaps being a bit too cautious in the opening half, letting sides sort of dig in a little bit, and credit to Rotherham especially and to Wycombe. I thought they, you know, rose to the occasion in the last two home games. But Paunovic did say that that's something they've been working on. They wanted to get off to a much better start, and you can't get much better than Yakimete's early goal. But even with the setback, the intention of the side was still there. It was still obvious. Reading wanted to press on in the first half and perhaps surprise Blackburn a bit, and did it so effectively. And some really great goals. More to the point, I think you could make an argument for all four of those being really good goals. I mean, Elise's and Lawrence, what a finish from Josh Lawrence, and brilliant composure from Michael Elise for his finish. To show the alertness in the opening goal that Lucas João did with that little back heel, to be that ready, that concentrated, that focused so early on was fantastic. And Mate obviously gambling was in the right position, and then Lucas João's showed a cool head to get the fourth goal. So I think all of the goals were impressive, and yeah, I really couldn't praise the team high enough. I did the player ratings, and it was high scores across the board.
Yeah, there was not a single player last night which felt like there was an average performance from them yesterday, and it feels like every game Reading are improving in terms of their performance currently. I know we conceded two yesterday, but it was to a much stronger opponent going forwards.
Mm.
And it feels like we're at the point now, if we just kind of keep going with what we're doing, we should carry on this kind of run of form. Maybe not carry on winning every game, but it does feel like this group has something kind of special about it. And the
Yeah,
spirit in the team is there.
yeah. Paunovic labelled the side as unique after the game. The team spirit and the togetherness is a unique experience for him. He said, that dressing room is a special place to be in right now, and you can see it. Yeah, you did mention the two goals conceded. I thought both those were really good goals. Okay, the first goal perhaps a little bit disappointing to let that cross get in, but a fantastic finish. Second goal, brilliant header. Sometimes you just have to say, yeah, fair enough. That's a great goal. But after both goals, Reading were focused. They didn't let their heads drop, and yeah, the team is really looking like they're building something here. Obviously, very early doors, and you don't want to get too ahead of yourselves, but you can't not
Oh,
enjoy.
you've got to, Matt. You've got to let yourself go.
Yeah, you can't not
Get
enjoy it at
ahead of
this point. I
yourself,
mean,
right? Come
7 points
on.
clear. Yeah, no,
We're gonna
I
107 points, and we're going to win the league.
oh,
So
well, obviously, on a foregone
yeah,
conclusion.
precisely. Obviously, on Friday we've got Coventry coming up, and we're travelling up to Birmingham to play the game up on Sky Sports. Yesterday, we obviously had the team news with Ajaria not being involved yesterday. Do you think there's going to be any chance that he's going to be involved for Friday, or is there kind of little chance he's going to be involved for Friday? Maybe we see him come back next week against either Preston or Stoke.
I think if I had to put money on it right now, I'd say probably more likely not to feature from the start. I think he said that Pavlovich said that he was feeling a bit of muscle fatigue on the weekend, erred on the side of caution yesterday, a decision that was ultimately vindicated. And with obviously such a hectic schedule, which Reading are in the midst of at the moment, the injuries, they seem to be suffered before this hectic schedule with players like John Swift and Andy Yiadom. At the moment, things are going quite well. So I think Paunovic may err on the side of caution. It wouldn't surprise me to see that. I think, Semedo especially was a real standout performer. So I would be very confident if he was given the nod in that sort of attacking midfield position. Thought he looked really, really great last night.
And at least coming in yesterday as well, had an excellent performance. Obviously, not only the goal, but obviously his all-round game yesterday was fantastic. It was probably one of the best Michael Elise performances I've seen.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I mean, I did touch upon the goal, the composure he showed, but his intelligence on the ball as well as his close control. We all know that he can get out of a tight spot, but he does seem to have a knack of always being a step ahead, or not always, but more often than not being a step ahead of the defenders. He expects certain challenges to come in, and he'll maneuver in his body in such a way that he'll get out of those tight spaces. So, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people outside of Reading are starting to stand up and take notice of Michael Elise, which I don't know what you want, but at the same time, utterly deserved.
He is going to be a very, very special player, and he's going to go for many millions of pounds at some point, I'm sure.
Oh, don't say that.
No, maybe not just yet, but yeah, he is a very special player, Michael Elise.
Completely agree.
Yesterday, we also had maybe a slight injury worry with Yaku Mete going down during the game. After his goal, I can't actually remember when he went down. I think it was sometime late in the first half, early in the second half, perhaps. And he went down. Is there any injury concern there for Yaku Mete, or do you think we'll have him in the squad on Friday?
I think, again, probably more likely to get a starting berth than Ajaria. Perhaps Paunovic may be more likely to just think, right, again, we've got a lot of games coming up. Mete, he's in good form at the moment. You want to keep that going. You don't want to start him, take that risk, and then maybe lose him for a longer period. So I think he should be fit, and he should be fit to play a part. But I think, as we've seen with Paunovic, he won't take too many risks with, players on form throughout his squad, not just throughout his starting 11.
And I guess it's the opportunities there for George Puskas to come in if Mete isn't fit, or maybe even Shoria Luko if Paunovic doesn't want to go with a second striker.
Yeah, exactly. And I would be reasonably confident with either of those sort of additions. I think on paper, Coventry looks like a slightly more easy game than Blackburn. By all means, football is played on grass, not paper. But you don't want to take...
As Reading fans are becoming well aware of, with with XG being a very hot topic amongst Reading fans currently.
Yeah, but I think I wouldn't blame Paunovic again if he erred on the side of caution. I think it would probably be a sensible move if he feels that Mete isn't fully fit. But there is every chance that he will feature on Friday, I think.
That would definitely be good, given that Mete is on, is it 4 goals now for the season, I think, Mete, and Zhao is on 5 league goals as well.
And
both started this season on fire, so it would definitely be good to have Mete involved on Friday.
Yeah, and I must be said, I haven't chatted on the pod since it, but that goal on Saturday against Rotherham, that of all the goals that I've seen since the lockdown, since we've been in lockdown and fans haven't been allowed into the grounds, that's the one goal I wish we had fans in for, because the replays don't truly do it justice to just how good of a finish it was a spectacular finish.
The technique for that was just fantastic, wasn't it? Bringing the ball down on his chest before setting himself up was something else. You don't see that every week.
You don't, and the fact that at that point Reading were 1-0 up, and he had the confidence to do that, which shows what Paunovic is instilling into his side. Players are willing to take quite a big, well, not a risk, but he was willing to take that on. It wasn't as if the game was dead and buried at that point. And my word, it paid dividends. It was an absolutely fantastic finish.
Well, I will not complain if Maytay gets another one on Friday night whatsoever. And moving on to Friday night, Matt, we're obviously playing on Sky. Reading, typically, not that good on Sky.
Yeah,
don't seem to have a very good record on Sky.
We don't, but I think all of the previous expectations that you would have about Reading, given sort of previous seasons, i.e. looking at home bankers, so to speak, you'd think that would be the games that Reading have struggled with. Passed all those tests with flying colours so far, so maybe the Sky Hoodoo is the next one to break. I think, as I said, on paper, you would feel that Reading have a good chance. Coventry, I believe, have lost their last 2 without scoring, so confidence probably is a polar opposite at the moment. Knowing football, though, this could be the one where it's very, very tough to predict, especially in this league. But I think if there's a game that you feel that they might break that Sky Sports curse, it would be Friday.
I have gone for a 1-0, Matt, this Friday. I think it will be a little bit tougher than perhaps people are expecting. Coventry do play a five at the back system, and I think they're going to be quite content to sit back and get a point against us, potentially, being that we're league leaders. Give me your score prediction for Friday night.
I think I take your points on board. I think just based on the goals, 7 goals in the last 2 games, perhaps that sort of grinding out results may have turned a little bit. I'm going to go with the 2-0 win.
2-0. That would be brilliant. Another clean sheet and another 3 points, keeping us top of the table by at least 7 points would be fantastic.
I bet you didn't think you'd be saying that at the start of the season.
I did not, no. So thank you, Matt, for joining us. And next up, we have got Tom joining us from the Sky Blues Extra podcast discussing Coventry. So we're joined now by Tom from Sky Blues Extra. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be back in the Championship, but finding life pretty tough so far as a Coventry fan. Yeah, how about yourself?
Not too bad. I mean, we've had a little bit of a better start to the season than Coventry. So can't really complain currently, complain. And obviously this Friday we've got our game on Sky Sports. First time Reading have been on Sky Sports this season. I don't know when Coventry were last on Sky Sports, presumably sometime back end of last year.
We've actually been on twice already this season, believe it or not. Sky Sports seem to like having us on. I don't know why. So yeah, we played QPR which was our only win of the season, and our defeat to Bournemouth was also on Sky. So 3rd time for us, funny enough. Yeah.
Hopefully not 3rd time lucky. So Coventry currently sit in 21st place, 8 games in. You're on 5 points at the minute. How would you say your start's been? Do you think this is currently what Coventry fans were expecting? Were you expecting it to be a bit easier, or has this kind of been where you were expecting to land?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when we first kind of got promoted, that was confirmed. I think we all were like, okay, it's going to be really tough in the Championship. Obviously, the landscape has changed enormously in like the 8 years we've been out of the division. And you've got teams with obviously spending a lot of money. So we knew it was going to be really hard. With the signings we made our signings quite early. I think it sort of raised the expectations a bit. Everyone got a little bit excited, a few exciting signings, and we started to think about, could we actually do a bit better than what we thought? There were even a few pundits saying, could Coventry be the surprise package? Could we finish in the top half? And I think as Coventry fans, we sometimes get a bit carried away. So we started to think that things could be maybe better than we thought. But then obviously the fixtures came out, and we had a pretty tough first sort of few games. We've had to play teams like Bristol City. We've had to play Bournemouth. We've played Middlesbrough away. So some really tough games in there. Swansea as well. So I think if we're being realistic, I don't think we expected to have a really, flying start and pick up loads of points. So probably about where we expected to be, I would have said, yeah.
Yeah, your start's not been easy. Just looking at the fixtures you played a number of those teams who finished strong last season, and I guess also have been good at the start of this season. Like you said, Bristol, Bournemouth, Brentford.
Blackburn were really good at the weekend as well. They're a really good side.
Yeah, Blackburn very very good going forwards yesterday against us. Not quite so good at the back, but
yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed just having a look at the Coventry results so far is perhaps there's a little bit of a lack of goals going forwards. Has it been a case of clinical edge not being there, or do you think it's a lack of chance creation, or what can we expect to see from Coventry this weekend?
Yeah. I think primarily it's lack of chance creation. I mean, we do our live videos after each game, and the stats have been quite damning the last couple of games in that, we've only created maybe 3 or 4 opportunities, which just isn't enough to score enough goals. And then even with those chances we're creating, we're not being clinical enough. One thing we've been talking about is sort of how isolated Matty Godden's been at the top of the field. He obviously is our top goal scorer last season, and we played him as a lone striker last season. But, at this level, you just don't get the same sort of amount of space that you do in League One. So he works really hard, and he's actually really good at holding the ball up. But there's just sort of nothing there when he sort of holds the ball up. What he's really good at is sort of laying it off to someone and then making a run, playing off the shoulder. But that's been difficult for us so far. But I think one thing that possibly could change things for Friday is that Tyler Walker is available again for us. We signed him in the summer. He was one of our biggest signings, and he possibly will play as part of a 2 up front. Which I think will slightly change the dynamic. It'll probably give Godden a bit of support at the top of the pitch. So hopefully for us anyway, that'll make a difference.
Just was having a little look at how Godden did last season. 14 goals in 26 league games. It's a decent record last season. And he's already scored 3 this season, so it does seem like he knows where the back of the net is, and it's I would imagine it's going to be one which Moore and Morrison are going to be all over, especially if you play 1 up front. If you do go back to 2 up front and Tyler Walker comes in, it will probably be a slightly different game in the sense of I don't really think Reading have played any teams yet with 2 main strikers. From memory. A lot of it looks to me as if you've been playing 5 at the back as well, 2 wing back system. Is that like a Mark Robbins-esque or Mark Robbins style, or is that something that you've kind of adapted for the Championship, knowing that you'll get, I guess, less of the ball?
Yeah, no, it's something we've been doing for a little while, actually. I think it was probably about a year ago, actually, that we switched to that system. We started the League One season with 4-4-2. It wasn't really working for us, playing with sort of wingers further forward. So I think it was something like halfway through a game against Fleetwood when we were 1-0 down, we switched to the 5 at the back. And we didn't look back from then. We played that all season. We're kind of blessed with having really good wing backs in the squad. Actually, Fankety Dabo, who plays at right wing back, he's just coming back from injury as well, so he'll be another one for you guys to watch out for on Friday. He's a really good player, and he should be back in at right wing back, which actually allows McCallum, who's been playing there, to play back on his preferred position on the left. We've actually sold him to Norwich, strangely, and then we've loaned him back for a whole season. So we've got the money in the bank, but got his services, which is great. So yeah, we do play with the wing backs. We play out from the back quite a lot. But it's a system that we've actually had integrated for a while. And actually, having watched us last night against Middlesbrough, I'd say at the back we actually have pretty good shape. Our 3 centre halves are very good. Defensively, although we've conceded a few goals this season, we actually do have a pretty good shape at the back. It's this going forward that is our problem at the moment.
Yeah, as you mentioned, last night's game, 2-0 loss against Middlesbrough, and we were just speaking before we started, and you did mention that it was one of those games where it could have gone either way, and Coventry kind of lost it late on with two goals for Borough in the last 10 minutes, and it just taking a look back at the results this season so far, it appears that a lot of your games have been, like, first half at least, relatively tight and relatively close. There's not really been any team which has run away from you in the first half. But do you think it's a case of maybe not fatigue, but perhaps fitter athletes in playing in the Championship, and the players just aren't quite up to that Championship speed yet?
Yeah, exactly that. I think, possibly fitness. I think there's one factor possibly coming into it with the fact that we had a little bit of time off as well. I know obviously the Championship teams played on and finished the season and then didn't have a big break. Obviously a lot of our players hadn't played a competitive game since March, which is kind of crazy really. So I think there's that going up a level, the sort of sharpness of the Championship I've definitely noticed, especially Bournemouth, who we played. They beat us 3-1. They were very, very quick, very sharp. They didn't, it was almost like they didn't have to think when they're playing a pass. We sometimes seem like we're really overthinking things and takes a little bit longer to make those quick decisions. The level of pressing as well in the Championship is just crazy from what I've seen. It's, you don't get a second to breathe. Yeah. So I think, it's just getting up to those levels, I think, is taking us a little bit of time. Bearing in mind our squad is built really with League One players with a lot of potential. We don't have, because of the finances of the club, we aren't able to go out and sign those £5-10 million players or older players that demand a lot of wages. We have to pick up players like Callum O'Hare he was on loan from us from Villa, and we've signed him now permanently, but we have to take players like that who've done pretty well in League One and hope that they can make the step up. But it's just taking a little bit of time for us to reach the level.
Obviously, the game Friday night is not actually taking place in Coventry. It's taking place at St Andrews. That's been going on for the best part of 18 months now. Is there any indication as to Coventry going back to Coventry anytime soon, or do you think this issue with Sisu is just going to run and run and run?
Yeah, it's an ongoing issue. I mean, it's been going on for years, really, since we sort of exiled to Northampton over the sort of rent row that went on then. It's one of those where it feels like it's got to a point where it's just so poisonous on both sides that they won't do anything, and one side blames the other. There's a lot of they put a lot of press releases out blaming the other side, and the fans don't really know who to believe. We don't know whether our owners are the ones that are hiding things or whether Wasps are hiding things from us. So it's just a complete and utter stalemate now. There's talk of a new stadium being built on the Warwick Uni campus. We've had many times over the last few years when we've been promised kind of a new stadium and it hasn't happened. So my concern is that, if there was a new stadium to be built, it's probably going to take best part of 5 years. Playing outside of your city for 5 years, I think is very damaging. It's not easy for people to get St Andrews. It's okay to do it for a year or two, but any longer, I think we'll start seeing the effect, especially, with things like COVID that's happened and the effect that's had on football. So, we do need to get back to the Rico, but it's a very tricky situation.
Yeah, that makes sense, definitely. And losing the connection with the fans in the city, what with not being able to go to games as it is difficult enough. But then once you add in the fact that you're not actually playing in your home city, it makes it even tougher, especially during a time when realistically it's a successful period for Coventry. You're back on the up, and
exactly.
That's tough to take, certainly. So just looking forward for the rest of the season. Quick question about the rest of the Championship. If I was to ask you 3 teams to go up and 3 teams to go down currently, where would your head be at?
That's a good question. I think from what I've seen so far, I think Bournemouth should go up. I think Watford will go up, and I think Norwich will go up. But they're probably the 3 sides who got relegated as well, aren't they?
I don't like that answer.
I just think 3 relegated sides who have kind of kept their teams together and are very, very strong. I can see them coming out on top. But having said that, like, the playoffs is a bit of a lottery, isn't it? So you could be a very strong side who finish in the playoffs, and you could fluff it very easily. So, but I think those 3 look pretty strong to me.
And what about the other end of the table?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, you'd probably say Wickham are going to really struggle, aren't they? I know they got a point last night, but
they are struggling though to adapt. So.
They're really struggling, and I think I mean, we did the double over them last season. I think. Well, I say the double. We beat them in the. We had one game left to play, which didn't happen, but we beat them in the away game comfortably. I think we could have predicted that. They weren't even that strong in League One, to be honest. I mean, the style of football they play and things like that, and the finances they have. So, I think they're probably favourites to go down. Sheffield Wednesday have started really well. They could possibly pull themselves out of it. I'd probably, I won't obviously predict Coventry to go down, so I'd probably go with Wickham. I'd probably go with Wickham, Rotherham, and Barnsley would be my three.
Just keeping yourself safe there on the right side of the line.
21st will do.
21st will do, exactly.
Yeah.
And then just one last question for you, Tom, before we sign off, is just what score prediction have you got for Friday night's game?
Yeah, I don't think there's many confident score predictions going around with the Coventry fans at the moment. Obviously, you guys are flying. I don't like to predict a loss, but I'll probably go for a 2-0 defeat, which is just the reality of the game. I think that we've got on Friday with you guys.
I think I'm going to go for 1-0. I think it will be a little bit tighter with you guys playing 5 at the back. I think we might struggle a little bit more. We're generally playing 1 up front, and it might be a little bit more of a struggle for us to break that down. But I think we'll get there, and our defence has been very strong. So I'm hoping for a clean sheet and a 1-0 win. But now I've said that, we've probably jinxed it between us. So cheers, Tom, for joining us on today's preview show.
No worries, Alex. Good to be on. Cheers.
And we'll speak to you all after the game against Coventry on Friday night. Cheers, everyone.